Demonick Angel here. And today I thought I would do something a little different and review a place, and then I'll continue on with part 3 of Astral Projection, and then I'll do a video about how to do it. Tips and advice and everything. But to break that up a little bit, I'm going to give some of my impressions about a place, and we'll just see how that works out first time doing this. So a couple weeks ago, I went with a group of people to a place in Tempe, Arizona called Casey Moore's Oyster House. And I never knew anything about the place, just that it was old and historic in downtown, and that was really all I knew. So everybody just wanted to go have a good time, because it's close to the university and a lot of bars and restaurants. So we were downstairs and everybody was drinking, except for me. And I just wanted to try out my skills, I guess, and decide, like, how would I explain my impressions about a place. So I decided I've got to try it out. So I sort of disconnected myself from the group, and I just let myself go to that, altered state of consciousness that comes really easy for me. And like I said, I didn't know anything about this place. It was crowded. It really just seemed like a normal place, other than I knew it had a second story. So I just kind of sat there for a while and felt things, and then I wanted to go walk around. And I was able to go upstairs just because I was talking to some people around the bar, and they said, "Oh, you're interested in," I said I was interested in history and stuff, so they just said, "Well, why don't you just come upstairs and take a look around?" And it was really neat because it looks completely different from the downstairs. But so I went and I said, "Okay, well, don't really tell me what happened yet here." So as I was in the bar downstairs, I felt, I got the impressions about this woman, and it was weird because she looked like she was just spinning around, like to create chaos. And it was like her way of conjuring up energy, like this middle-aged woman, a bigger woman. And she was a little crazy, but I think that she's the reason that there's objects that move on their own and stuff. That's how living people would experience that. And I didn't really get much else about her at that time, other than, she lived at this place and she thinks she still owns it. And then when I went upstairs, I saw her talking to different people, and one of them being like her husband, but she's just crazy and yells, and she thinks that she still owns the property. Like, she just doesn't calm down enough to rationalize anything. She's just in charge, and obviously that's why she's still like a ghost, not a residual impression or something. She's still there. And I also I just felt her energy. Like, she definitely knows how to get energy from the living. That's why she makes objects move, to get reactions from people and to take that energy. And then she's also taking energy from all the dead people there, because she thinks she owns everybody, living and dead. And she's not really a bad person. She's just kind of crazy. And I don't even think that she cares that she's dead or knows. She's like the matron. And responsible for a lot of these objects being moved. And I saw her husband, and I know he's her husband because she yells at him, and just this poor man, I don't think he had much of a say. I just got that he was a businessman, and that he showed me an image of him sitting, like, looking out the window, and I think there was like a fireplace, and he liked to go retreat to read, and he was really into politics and business, and that was kind of his time away from his hectic life. And then he just died suddenly. I don't know if it was like there, but it was just like he just didn't see it coming. It wasn't painful or whatever. I mean, maybe like something like a heart attack, but it was just really sudden. And so that's how he died. And he's still there because he's really attached to his wife, and she doesn't want to let any of these people go. Now, the other issue with that is all of them have something that ties them to this place. Like, they have some psychological hang-up. So they, in a way, they choose to be stuck at this place. Another person I saw was a guy who looked like he was in a nice suit, and I think he worked at that place, and he did everything like serve drinks, and he protected the property. He was kind of like a sort of henchman, and he enforced order. And those were my impressions. And so he died of something, I think it might have been syphilis, because he seemed confused mentally, and then he had these lesions on parts of his body. And I just kind of knowing about that, and it just seemed like his death was a pretty slow process, and that was just so tied to his mental confusion. I know that can do that. That would be so. This man died before antibiotics, so this place is obviously, I knew it was old, but and he just doesn't have any family, and he didn't, whatever his life was before he came to work at this place, he just doesn't have a connection to that anymore. This is where he came to be, because everybody was scattered around, and so he walks around. So people upstairs, and that's where it's almost like rooms, is in the upstairs part of this place. And he walks around, and you can hear his footsteps, and he talks, and he whispers to people, like, and breathes on the back of their neck, because he definitely draws energy from the living, but it's more just like hey, this is his home, and he's kind of confused, and he walks around almost like an insomniac, and so he's very restless, and people hear his footsteps, his boots. So obviously I was thinking like, 100 years ago or something. And then the last couple of impressions of entities I had was that I saw little kids running around upstairs. And I wondered why, it's like they were playing hide and seek. They are stuck there because at some point in time, so this made the other man make sense. There was all kinds of people there, vagrants, and I'm sure prostitutes, and the destitute of all kind. And so they had, children, and they didn't, before antibiotics, right, as I saw, they didn't make it. So they're just kind of there because, the woman who thinks she owns this place, she kind of looks after them, and that's kind of the story with that. They were just these children of forgotten people. That was the message, and it's very sad, but that was pretty much that. So people would hear the giggling and the seeing little children, because everybody at this place is really physical. They're definitely ghosts in the sense of a traditional classic haunting with the things that they do, and then they're not residual energy. The craziest, most in-depth vision, of course, that I had was there was this woman, and she was just running up and down the stairs. She likes the stairs a lot, and she was very beautiful, and she kept trying to jump my mind to possess me, to make me feel exactly the way she does. And it was intense. So she was very beautiful, and she was a prostitute. I think later than the other guy that I saw, because she was really dolled up, but maybe in a little bit of a later sense. I can't explain it other than that, except she didn't seem like she had been there quite as long. But same story where she was living at this place in the upstairs rooms because that was her home. The other connections she had were not there anymore. So, still functioning in the sense of like boarding house people are living here. And so her heart was broken. She was numb, and she was just prostituting. And at some point, she had a boyfriend, and they fought a lot. And what happened was she was showing herself drinking, and, to death, herself trying to drink herself to death. And that was, painful for me. I felt it in my solar plexus, and it's just sad. But in any case, she was so sad that after showing me how she was just drinking, and she's depressed, she either hung herself or somebody strangled her, and I can't tell, why or what the connection to the one man she showed me was, because she was so depressed that she said it just doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter to her if somebody murdered her or she killed herself, because that was like this frame of mind she's in. She still is. And she tries to jump the consciousness of young men and entices them to feel lust. And I think that living guys would experience this as they go home and they're alone and they have these really lustful thoughts with a fantasy woman, and that's her influence that they just experienced, because she is tied to the property and she can't leave because she thinks that's her only home. But she likes to feel in their wallets and stuff. I mean, she's still so tied to all the things in life. And how can I put it? It's not, in a way, it's like she's living in hell. If you were to describe somebody so stuck in themselves. But I think she's thinking about things, and it's going to run its course. But it's just a sad situation where everybody has some feeling of intense abandonment, and so they are stuck to this place, and then they sort of let the matron run the show and take care of them or whatever. And I would just try to fight her or something, but there's really nothing that she's doing wrong. And so that was really pretty much my experience there. And as time goes on, these people will work out their issues. They don't work it out on our time, though, and so it could be hundreds of years or something like that, depending on a lot of things. And so the last kind of it wasn't a person. And like I mentioned, by the way, the living would experience, with that woman who likes the stairs, it's really cold. She's really cold when she's around. So everybody's going to experience cold spots and dishes flying. And silverware things being rearranged, because that's that woman's doing that for chaos for the most part. Sometimes the guy gets confused and he puts things in the wrong place because he's still suffering mentally. And he just gets a little confused and he misplaces things. Footsteps. Oh my gosh, that's that guy, his boots. And it's the girl too, because she likes the stairs. She goes upstairs to cry and think, and she goes downstairs to go find a new boyfriend or something for the night. But none of this makes her happy. This is all very, like I said, sort of stuck in yourself experience. So obviously, over the years, people have come to investigate this place and know about it. And so I think that the owners, and also probably some other people tied to this place, are buried nearby. And a lot of it has to do with the whole reason it's so stuck is, maybe some of the ties to the Native American who lived here before all of us. And it's just energy on that land where around that whole property is like a shadow, like a spiky shadow that's drawing, energy from the house itself and the people, the living and the dead. And it really is just, when other people have come to investigate and they try to just sage, or they try to interact with these people or yell at them or whatever, and sometimes they bind, it's like they're binding the dead because they don't understand what they're doing. And if not done properly, those kinds of things can definitely hurt the dead, trap them. So a little bit of it is this aspect where it just kind of would make it harder, and these people are going to be ghosts longer because of they're part of this popularity now, and that keeps them around. It keeps them alive, you know, in that sense, where they get way more attention in death than they probably did in life. And so, you know, now it's harder for them to leave because it's another attachment to that life, this physical plane of existence, inhibiting that process of moving forward. And there's also these couple of, like, well, they look like little gremlins or something, very small, shadowy creatures. I wouldn't say that they're demons, or, you know, and demons in a sense of like anything classical. They're like little imps, and they just feed off this energy and these shadows and this kind of land. And they're really not doing anything bad at this location. They are you know, just feeding off that energy. They're like land imps, and they will always be there. They've never been human, and they talk and they laugh, and people experience them less frequently because when they do, they have that sense of lost time. It's like that confusion of you're just sitting, 1 minute you're sitting there, and then 3 hours has gone by, but you think it's 5 minutes because, you know, they're outside of time and space, and an experience with them can really throw the perception of time off. So, but ultimately all these ghosts that we talked about today are stuck there because they are hung up there for some reason or another. It's not really the woman keeping them there, the crazy woman. She's, like I said, think of a strong matron type of a person, and that's what she is. Rules the roost, and that is, you know, she's not keeping everybody there. And then, you know, the other paranormal investigations or these little creatures aren't. They all have to think about their lives. Right? And so, and then they can move on. But in some way they're all in denial about being dead or being lonely, thinking that addictive behaviors are healthy. It really is, the way I perceive it is, it's scary to think that you definitely want to try to work those issues out, because otherwise you don't have a body anymore, but you still need to work those heavy issues out, and it makes it much harder without a body. And it's best to work on it while you're alive. It's okay to work on it while you're dead too, but that was my impressions of this place. And then I kind of learned a little bit more about it, and I was like, oh wow, I can't believe that seems pretty close. I think what I'll do is I'll put a couple links in the description of this place if you just want to get a sense of it. It's totally open now. You could go there and have dinner and drinks and maybe even go on a tour or something. I think they offer those kinds of things. But yeah, it's just a place where energy is, and it's because everybody came there to work things out. Probably in the Great Depression, where people lost a large part of themselves in their identity, and they came here, and this place became their identity. So, next I'll do part 3 of Astral Projection. So stay tuned, and please check out my Patreon page. I can't monetize here on YouTube. I don't have enough subscribers, and I'm just a struggling person, so anything would be appreciated, or just even share with other occultists or paranormal enthusiasts. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much.